So one of the criteria for TOD is that it has to be within 400 to 700 meters for a train station to be connected to the condo. So if you look at Atera itself, maybe I can share my slide.
Hi guys, I'm Charis here. So before we start the video, I just want to do a short disclaimer whereby for You Ask We Answer is actually a session that we created to help address some of the key concerns by our followers regarding certain projects. So let's say if you have any properties in mind that you hope that you can get some reference point, feel free to comment in our chat or you can inbox us. Of course, most importantly, any answers being provided doesn't represent any buy or sell decision. It's merely a reference point for you. So you yourself as a buyer must do your own due diligence. And of course, hopefully through our content, it can give you some clarity regarding the projects that you're looking for. So hope that you like our video. Let's start. What he's concerned of is that PJ section 14, which is this area, is known as to be an industrial area. So what will actually drive the demand, okay, for residential project like this?
Nowadays, right, when people buy property, let's say for investment or even own stay, they have a few things they have in mind. So they call it the HOPSCA concept. So HOPSCA means H for hotel, O for offices, P for parking as well, any nearby parking facilities, and then S for shopping mall, very important, especially if you are staying in the city. Then C for convention, let's say you have events or any important exhibitions. And A is actually for apartments, which means condos around the area. So whenever people look for property, right, one consideration they want to find or think about is actually HOPSCA. So if you notice Atera-wise, around this area, within 3 kilometers, it fulfills all of HOPSCA already itself. So you can see this location, right? Even if you don't want to drive, you can walk even nearby. Or if you drive, within 3 kilometers, you have everything in HOPSCA itself. That's why this concept is very famous now, especially in Malaysia. If you want to buy property, this is a concept I think you want to consider want to invest or own stay.
But Charis, I just curious here. Is there such a big land there? I mean, looking from the map itself, you actually highlight the site. It's quite big, right?
Yes, correct. It's a 9 acres land actually. So nowadays, if you see condos, right, it's around average 1.7, 1.6, or even 2 per block. Or even some condos in 2 acres land, they fit 2 blocks. But this 9 acres land, they're going to use for actually only 3 blocks of condo. So you can notice 3 acres of land per condo, which is actually a very big space. So that's why you can see the site is actually a very big space. And later on, I will share you more details, some pictures at the site. Actually, what is it about? So we go on.
Okay. So for those who join late, right? So basically what we have addressed, the first question is, this follower asked whether for such an industrial area, I think there's a typo there, is industrial area, what will drive the demand here? Okay, so I think over what I have seen this Charis presentation, the HOPSCA concept, I think is quite good. Yeah, perhaps Charis, you can share a bit more. What is the similar concept or what we say transformation happen in PJ that maybe can relate to this project also?
Okay, so actually, right, Google Maps let's say if you are looking for properties or you want to see the location, geography of the location, right? Google Maps, street images is very helpful. Even for me, I'm taking this from Google Image one, Street View. So if you see, right, this is one example. Actually, right behind the showroom for Atera itself, right? One of the very obvious example is Ryan and Miho at Atwater. So you can see here from the picture I show, right? You can see Ryan and Miho back in 2014. It's just an empty piece of land which they use for commercial use. But after about 7 years later, now it's converted into a condo, which you can actually walk to Jaya 1 as well from the condo itself. So these are all very convenient. That's why people are looking into areas like PJ, even though we say, oh, commercial. But actually, right, as time goes on, there will be developments. Even you see PJ Midtown, last time people say it's mainly factory area. But you can see one of the most prominent condo in this area is the PJ Midtown condo. Now it's actually up and rising. And a lot of people, right, if they're looking for sub-sales, they're also looking for condos like this.
True.
So it's quite interesting.
Actually, from here, I can really see that a lot of those land that nowadays we see the high-rises are built on top of commercial, right? And some like, for example, industrial, as what you actually mentioned, like these few key areas. So I think, to me, after you have shared this, I feel it's not so uncommon also, right?
Correct. Because actually, right, if you think back commercial areas, If we are talking about heavy machinery, then yes, maybe not so safe to stay, or maybe the land may have some previous toxic waste. Some people might have that kind of concern,
Exactly.
right? But if you
Exactly.
have commercial use, for example, maybe just a workshop, a place for people to have offices, then actually, right, this drive your economic activity in the area because there's population. There is also people opening up restaurants for the staff to eat around the area, and also
Yes.
people who work here, right? They normally look for houses to stay as well, lor. So when they look for houses to stay, these are the people we can target, especially for places like Atera, Ryan and Miho, or even PJ Midtown itself.
Okay. So over here, right, the second question is that, so there's one followers who asked us regarding this, what we call the TOD. Okay, so I think TOD is something new term, whereby for Malaysia itself, maybe for most of us we have not heard of this term, but for other countries like Singapore, Thailand, maybe they have heard before. So I think here, right, these followers, he has concern whether, since a lot of people are sharing this project as a TOD development. So what is it about, and is it so or is it not? So what do you have to say?
Interesting question. Actually, now a lot of agents or people among us also, whenever we say a condo, right, we always say TOD condo, TOD condo. But actually, you're right, Harry. Some people may not know what is TOD. So the reason why TOD was introduced, if you look back like Thailand or Singapore, right, their transportation system is actually very good, and they have a lot of train stations spread out across the cities itself. So same like Malaysia now, we got MRT, LRT, right, and KTM itself. So of course, people are moving into TOD developments, or we call transit-oriented development, which means their main goal of having this kind of development is to enhance accessibility and livelihood of people. Because we all nowadays travel so far sometimes, driving a lot. So people are looking towards TOD in the sense that they are looking for something where you can walk to a public transport nearby, commute to work, and they in a way help to solve the last mile problem. If you heard before about urban city kind of lifestyle,
Yep.
so TOD in terms of Atera, right? Whether is it a TOD or not? So one of the criteria for TOD is that it has to be within 400 to 700 meters for a train station to be connected to the condo. So if you look at Atera itself, maybe I can share my slide. May need to jump a bit here. So if you look at our Atera itself, you can see that the distance, right, based on Google Maps, is about 450 meters to the train station. So this fulfills the TOD criteria that people have been talking about on. And even right now, right, they are building a covered walkway for Atera. So in the future, once it's completed, you can actually walk to the train station without any wet or no direct sun shining on you. You can actually walk under the shelter as well.
Mm, mm. I
And if you
think,
notice here, yeah, Harris, you were
sorry, I'm
saying
going
something?
to cut you off a bit because I saw that there's a cover walkway, right? So this is going
Yes.
to be built by the developer, or is actually built by the authority?
Okay, this one is going to be built by the developer. But let's say if you come and have a look, right, you will notice that previously the current location itself, there is no cover walkway on. So what is going to happen is that Paramount, the developer itself, is going to be preparing the cover walkway, of course, with the approval by the authorities also before they build Atera as well. So that's
All
why
right.
this is part of their planning together in building the concept of the condo. They also improvise the surrounding, the livelihood of the residents staying there as well.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay. So I think you have some things to share about the connectivity, right?
Yes, this is very
Okay.
important because I
Okay.
think let's say if you're not driving, right? Like me last time before I started driving, I take a lot of the train. So last time for me, I take very often until I kind of memorize which location go where. So let's say if you're someone who is new to KL or never been to really sit on the train itself, right? This will be quite useful for you because let's say you're staying in a place like PJ, some of the very important landmarks, if you're taking the LRT from Kelana Jaya or PJ side, you will notice that this area, right, let's say from LRT Asia Jaya, which Atera is located at, around 400 meters from LRT Asia Jaya, 3 station actually, approximately 10 minutes, you can reach Bangsa South already, which is all the MNC companies. Then after that, you are, let's say, a student, 2 stations away, let's say you wake up late in the morning, you can still rush for class within 10 minutes if you take a bit of jog to the train station. Then if you're, let's say you want to makan, if you don't want to get caught in a jam, right, then Mid Valley is another option for you because it's only 12 minutes of train station distance. And then at the same time, KL Central, KLCC, these are all very famous and important landmarks if let's say you want to go shopping during the weekend and even to study or even next time you want to do for investment. These are the location you want to target the audience that are staying in Atera also.
I
Sounds
think you
interesting.
have, yeah, I think from what you mentioned, the few stations, I think like to me, I also actually take public transport last time, but because I'm staying in Charis, okay, so you can imagine Charis to KL is like, I can't recall exactly, but it's around 15 stations. So it will take me about 45 minutes actually to travel to town. So by the
Correct.
time I reach there, it's about 1 hour. So actually, no matter how, I still have to wake up very early. So that was my sort of reason why I was discouraged to take public transport lah. Because I feel the duration is about the same as driving. Of course, driving you get more sort of personal time. So this is also why I think Malaysians don't really take public transport a lot, right? So
Correct.
yeah, so what you have mentioned, I think the stations also play a key part, especially if let's say you were to take every day. So few stations closer definitely will makes a difference. Either it's
Yes,
10 minutes,
yes, a lot
15
of the
minutes
time.
journey. Yeah. This follower who raised this question is someone who
Mm,
has surveyed the market for some time. And basically what he touched on is that he has seen a lot of high-rise development lately in PJ. And his concern will be how can this project ensures that he has a unique point that able to attract. I think he's coming from an investor point of view. So,
mm.
okay, I'll pass the floor to you, Charis.
This is quite an interesting question because actually not only in PJ, but if you
Mm,
notice a lot of areas in KL also have a lot of high-rise development. Even after MCO,
exactly.
you notice many new launch projects and then many high-rise condo,
I
they're all
think
just getting higher
this
and
is very
higher.
surprising. Yeah, a lot of people say that after market downturn, properties, right, there will be a slowdown lah. But what I am
Mm.
seeing, what I'm noticing is that not just there's more new projects, the take up rate also is actually it didn't drop as much as we expect.
Yes, correct. Even bank loans also they are getting approved. That means there is also potential and disposable income of these people to be able to afford properties as well. Yeah.
Mm,
So
yep.
regarding Atera, why does Atera stand out? If you look at the slide, right, that I'm about to share, if you notice currently, right, where is this particular place? Harris, do you know this place or not currently? Are you familiar with this place?
Uh, I'm noticing there's a car park, so not sure where,
Mm,
but I think
correct.
I've
Yes.
been there before.
Yes. So if you actually maybe during Chinese New Year you manage to go there to Yam Zhao lah, we say have a big
Yeah,
banquet dinner. It's
yeah.
actually next to Copper Mansion. There's actually this space of car park here, very
Mm,
big piece of land, about 9 acres in total, the
mm,
size. So what is happening now? I took this picture back in September 2022. If you notice this particular area, right, if you actually look at the map, this is considered one of the last plot of land that is vacant for development in that
mm,
particular area itself, nearby Sheraton and Hilton Hotel and LRT Asia Jaya. So what is
mm.
happening is that they are going to use that space to actually build Atera, as you can see in the future, based on the artist's impression. And also another thing about Atera is that one of the very few interesting points about it is that it's going to be actually a smart home condo. Have you ever heard of smart home condo before in PJ so far, Harris?
I only know that smart home is something for lazy people like me. So if let's say I want to sleep, normally I am lazy to wake up to to switch off the lights. So that's the reason why I turn on my lights to sleep sometimes.
Yes, correct. So all this will be very useful for you because now with your app, right, with your phone, then after that you can just use your app to control the temperature, the lighting, and even before you
Mm.
come back home, you can already turn on the aircon and the lights, and then prepare yourself when you come back home. Just sit down on the couch and rest. So this
So
is
what
one
you
of
mean?
Atera's unique point.
So what you mean is that I can use an app to control all
Mm,
the lightings, fan. As what I see here, there's also a digital door lock. Okay,
yes, correct.
and without me being there.
Yep, correct. So everything
Wow.
you can use from the app because nowadays, right, if you want to install smart home condo into your house, sometimes you may need
Yes.
additional cost. You may need to hack the wall particularly
Yes.
and maybe do the wiring on the condo itself. But when you stay in Atera, right, what happens is that all this will be part of your package when you stay together in the condo itself. It'll all be
Mm.
included for you. So when you move in, you can just have this app installed on your phone and all these smart home system and function will be able to work well with you. You can get like
But
those
isn't
Xiaomi sensor also can work. Mm.
but if let's say like I just out of curiosity, there's no electricity, right? would it affect the, I mean, me assessing I mean, how to say, assessing the points, like for example, the lighting, the fan, or do they provide switch for that as well?
Yes, of course. That one definitely they have to. This is part
Okay.
of even if let's say you don't have right a part of condo planning as well, they should have a switch lah. But so far for Atera, they will also be providing switches. Let's say sometimes maybe like auntie, uncle, they might not be able to use the app, right? They also
Yeah.
can use the switch also. Or kids itself,
Okay.
they can also press.
Okay. Then that's fine. All right.
And also one
Interesting.
more thing I wanted to mention, because if you notice, right, maybe I didn't get to show here, but actually Atera at the bottom of it, there will be some retail stores. So what am I trying to show here in the picture is that if you see, right, actually PJ is very famous for their pet-friendly cafe. So
Yep.
if you go to quite a number of cafe in PJ, maybe you got go there to Pakto Harris with your girlfriend, you can go there and see some of the cafe got a lot of cute pets on. So same with Atera, there's going to be a pet-friendly retail store at the bottom of the condo. So some of the example here, right, we have is like the hub, very nearby Atera also. And then we got this one at section 17, the 17 Mall. And then also Strand. This will be sort of like a example of a future how Atera is going to be like when it has a pet-friendly concept also.
Interesting. So what you mean is that this retail mall is like considered pet friendly. So I can actually bring my pets there to let's say
Yes,
have coffee, chit chat with my friend.
correct. You
Wow.
can bring your pet to some of the cafes, maybe not all the particular area lah, but of course some of the cafes, they allow you to bring your pets along, and some of them may even include some pets meal. So while your cat or dog is looking at you to makan, right, they also can makan together with their own food.
Wow. Okay, I think this is a
Quite
good
cool.
point for those pet lovers. I
Yes.
think most of them will be convinced already when, especially the pets can also have their own food. I think that's very interesting.
Yes, Charis, maybe make sure you bring your cat along one day.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think what you share on this point is quite relevant to most of the, I would say, condo people, because most of the condo nowadays they have very restricted movement regards to their pets, where they can go. So I think having this below definitely would add in some lifestyle, not just to them and for their pets as well, which I think is good also. So I think if anyone here, right, you have pets also, okay, feel free to comment. Okay, would you like a concept like this? Because we also want to hear whether is this model or this concept really relevant to you.
Since I mentioned a few times that this whole plot of land is about 9-acre size. So if you notice, right, Atera itself, they have actually a big plot of land, and with that, there's a lot of facilities provided also. So if you can see this whole area, right, what it's trying to tell you is that once it's completed, you have a big plot of land, which also introduces you the smart home condo, retail below, and then at the same time, transit-oriented development. Basically, it can provide a whole infrastructure and ample of facilities for the residents to stay. Not to say a township, but basically a whole lifestyle in one area itself already, which is Atera itself. So I think I
this
really
is
like this
good
one.
because most of the time I think people, especially staying in condo, right, they already can accept of staying in a small space. But let's say if they have to compromise on lifestyle, right, this is also one of the reason most people prefer to actually buy near to commercial or public transport. So here if I can get everything I need, right, it will be even at that point, because time is at the essence where if you were traveling most of the time, I would love to have something below my condo, so I can buy some food while I'm back home late at night.
Correct. Let's say you come back from work, sometimes you forget some things, right? You don't want to drive out all the way again to supermarket to buy things. You might just want to go down, get some food maybe, or maybe order Grab food, or even buy anything that's convenient within the condo itself, and then eat at
And also,
home itself.
and also one thing, right? I find that it's very rare to see condo with basketball, badminton, and even I saw like there's 2 courts together in a
Yes,
single development. I think that
correct.
will attract a lot of those sport lovers. Any sport lovers here
Yes,
also, you can comment. Would you want
yes.
something like this in your condo?
So you can see there's actually 3 badminton courts, So let's say if nowadays, right, I know Harry, sometimes you got play badminton also. Maybe you are paying badminton court session to book a court. But here,
Yeah.
you can just play for free, 3 people. You can bring like 6 friends to come and play with you. 2% per court.
Okay, so I think we'll move on to the next one, because I think the next one also is also one of the main concern for most of the buyers, which is if let's say from investor point of view, what is the layout or unique point that I can consider for this project? So Charis, you have any input on this?
Yep, Ken. So for this project, right, so far they have 2 bedrooms. Let's say if you're a couple, they have 3 and even up to 4 bedrooms, which is actually very spacious. Then I will share on my screen as well regarding some of the layouts. Let's say some of you may be interested to know what are the layouts they have. So you can see here we have also a 2-bedroom layout, which is 775 square feet. And this is one of our hot selling layout actually, whether for investment or own stay. A lot of people are buying this one. So options are quite limited nowadays. That's why Harris was saying the take-up rate is actually quite high. And then we also have our 3-bedroom layout as well. And then, of course, the 4-bedroom. This one also very, very fast take-up. Very many people taking, because a lot of them may be looking for family. And this one, the interesting one is that it has a dual key concept. So you can, let's say, let your family, your parents or your grandparents stay in one of the rooms, which is a studio dual key concept. And then after that, you can stay at the rest of the other houses, the other rooms located in the unit itself. Rental rate wise, one idea we can do, okay, this is actually based on the market rate that we have in PJ itself. So some of you maybe, if you're not from KL, you might be shocked with the prices, but this is actually the prices of the rental in PJ. So you can see the biggest room is about 1,100, which is the master bedroom with the attached toilet. Then, of course, you can see there's actually 4 different bedrooms here that we can convert using the 3-bedroom layout. So the balcony room, right, you can also fetch a price of about 900 ringgit. So adding up these two is already 2,000. Then with 2,000, you add another 850 and 700. There, up in total, you can add up to 3,550 already, which in some ways, depending on the floor you choose, can already cover some of your installment or most of it already, and even cover your maintenance fees. So that's why I think it's a very worthy project, and this layout is also very good. You have a lot of options to do with it.
But would there be concern, like if you do partition like this, right, it will affect the what we call the would it affect the management, or would it raise concern on is it actually allowed to do so?
Partition, there's a lot of type of partition, and also the thickness of the partition. So of course, if you're not like cementing the whole structure, then of course it's allowable. But nowadays, actually it's pretty common for many condos that people do for investment, right? They also add own partition because they cannot hack. Some of them they cannot hack. So what they do is they want to do a partition instead. They just create their own partition by themselves.
So again, this is at your own cost, and of course we are not sort of hinting or what, or because again our session is this is a bit of disclaimer, okay, all this is just for reference, all right. So any decision made, of course you have to do your own due diligence, you have to weigh between the benefit and the disadvantage as well. So I think what Charis has touched on is that from what I can observe, the market is definitely there with the public transport, the location. It's just that what type of layout will attract what type of tenants. That's how we put it. Okay, so the last question for today, I think this one also quite interesting. Okay, and this has to do with the developer. So I think Chen, this person, he actually followed this developer, but because there's only one project completed so far in PJ, and if not mistaken, this one I think is Atwater. So now this I would say prospect, all right, he just want to know whether can they complete on for this type of big scale development in the given time. What would you got to say about for people who have not heard about this developer?
I see. Understand. I think this person probably got to do some research while we are having this session. That's why they know got one project in PJ. Okay, so let's say for this one, right, if you look back, because the developer I mentioned just now is by Paramount. So let's say if you go Google about them, you will notice that they actually started being in the field itself since 1981. And they actually developed landed properties before, townships. And for example, one of them is Utropolis in Penang and Shah Alam. It's actually an area, right, where they have a mixed-oriented, that's revolved around education center one, and they are anchored by a very famous college, which is KDU. Now they are working with Wollongong together. So these are one of the very famous projects that they built. And also Bukit Banyan is one of the earlier projects they have built in Kedah itself. So these are some of the workmanship that people who have stayed in Paramount would have noticed about their workmanship, that maybe they can share some review also. Let's say if you're a Paramount, if you stay before a Paramount property, maybe you can comment as well in the group here. So let's say, for example, maybe for someone who is new to PJ area or familiar with PJ, they never heard of Paramount before this, only got one project, right? So I would advise, let's say if you're a property buyer or investor, to maybe do your due diligence and maybe do some research and see whether is it what they share, right, justifiable with whatever you see from the reviews from people who stay themselves in the Paramount property or even other developments. Because some of the time people say they were worried there will be delay, right? But maybe that time MCO, I will not deny MCO, there will be some delay back then because the government also issue a sort of like a not to say encouragement, they also have given developer the leeway, we say, the chance for them to, let's say, delay. You can delay until a certain period, but after that already they are more strict about that delay of the projects. But if you look back, right, when they're delaying but the quality of the property is good, that is a different case. But if they delay and then maybe they leave it abandoned, that is even worse. I think that kind of situation is actually more dangerous and risky for the buyers. But if they delay, but when they come out, the workmanship is of tip-top quality, right? I think 1 or 2 months is still okay lah, not too long. If you wait a few years, then that one is definitely more worrying. So I think for buyers, you can do some research. Then you will definitely feel more convinced of this property that you're purchasing also.